So, you want to do your part to support the restoration of this once great nation? I'll tell you how. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. First off, this video is probably going to be in several parts because there's a lot to cover. There are different roles that people will be able to fill for making a difference, for being part of the solution. So what I'm going to cover is a lot of different things in this video series type thing. Everybody can't be doing this kind of stuff, obviously. But don't downplay what you are able to do. There's a lot of other very important, just as important, if not more important roles for people, for the average citizens out there that can and will make a difference. Before I get into the video, the topics, the ideas, please, if you care about our nation, if you care about being prepared, if you love others, if you are a follower of Him, then you got to subscribe. Hit that thumbs up, share the videos, comment below. It's important. It's important to me, it's important to you, it's important to building the community. Let's send a message to those that want to keep us down by building our community, getting stronger and stronger, being more and more capable. All right, so the different roles that I've kind of paraphrased it down, try to get it down and do as fewer roles as possible. So there's the warrior role, which I don't know if I'm going to cover that first because everybody wants to hear about that one. I may wait till later in the video so that you watch and you learn a lot of other stuff that's very important. But anyway, the roles are warrior, supply personnel, and there's different forms of supply personnel, which we'll get into. Then there is intel, gathering intelligence, because if you're in this role, you've got to have proper intel for mission planning, for knowing what's going on around you, knowing where the threats are, knowing the size of the enemy, the location of the enemy, a lot of different stuff. So intelligence is really important. So people can fill the intel role. There's also propaganda role. I don't know if you heard the phrase, win the hearts and minds. Okay, well propaganda is really important. And the left, the liberals, they're winning the war. They've won the war on propaganda so far because mainstream media is just an arm of government. It's just their government propaganda. That's all it is. It's a bunch of useless garbage. But as you see, how many brainwashed people are out there that you know of that just listen to mainstream media, watch TV shows, watch football games, baseball games, they just ingest all this stuff that they're programmed to watch. So propaganda is very important, and counter-propaganda is very important. And propaganda can be misinformation, or it can be the truth. The fact is that propaganda is really important because it helps bring more people onto your side or understand you, me, and our mission, our approach, what we stand for, what we hope to achieve, all these kind of things. So it's very important. Remember Rosie the Riveter? That's propaganda. So that's important. Okay, those four, it's kind of actually supplies is broken down a couple different things. Basically the four main roles that I'm going to talk about in this video series, and I may actually come up with other roles I'd like to talk about also. If you don't see yourself fitting into any of those roles, don't fret. There's still vital stuff that you can do. If you don't have a bunch of supplies stockpiled, if you're not capable of being a warrior, if you don't know anything about intelligence, and that is, don't think you don't know anything about intelligence. It could just be Joe Schmo down the street with a notebook and a pen, and every vehicle he sees drive by, he writes down the make, model, color, how many occupants, stuff like that, how many people are walking around, how many aircraft are flying above, what he's heard, who he's talking to. That's intelligence. So don't downplay that. But if you don't see yourself fitting into any of those other roles, you still have important roles. You can provide safe houses for people that need them, lay down areas, cool off areas, stuff like that, on your house, in your property you own, whatever it may be. Safe locations for people that are being pursued or maybe under threat, for them to go and hide out. Also, transportation. If you have a vehicle that's running and you may be, because you're not fulfilling one of the more visible roles, you'll be more on the down low. So maybe you won't be on their radar yet, so that your vehicle is not going to set off any alarm bells by driving around. So you can provide transportation to those that need it, either those out gathering intel, making propaganda drops, newsletters, leaflets, newspapers, stuff like that, like Freedom Press type stuff, Radio Free America, that kind of stuff is going to be important, as well as transporting warriors. So, all right, those are the basic roles. So this is just kind of like, obviously this video, I'm kind of covering some of the introduction. We're going to get in the meat potatoes here in a second. So let's start off with supplies. Okay, there are several ways to approach this. There are people like me, and have more property even than me, that can be in the kind of the homesteading role, the replenishment of supplies role. What does that mean? They're growing gardens, they're growing food, they're raising animals, that kind of stuff. So you got a longer term sustainability. Not everybody's set up for that. You may be in a suburban house, maybe you don't have any room to garden, maybe you can't due to HOA, whatever the rules are, or maybe that's not your thing. But say you have a big garage that you can stack the entire thing from floor to ceiling, stack it to the rafters with supplies, with food, with other things like that will be needed. And it's not just about food and water. It could be new boots, replacement boots for those warriors out there. It could be replacement uniforms for those warriors out there. Except for, don't look at me and think this is what I think I'm going to go warrior in. This is probably not what I'm going to warrior in. This is just for visual purposes for this video. I don't think I would ever be wearing this in a role like that. We'll go into that more in the warrior aspect. But it could be more of the seeds. It could be more of the seed holders. It could be spare parts for tools. It can be lots of different things that you could be stockpiling to help the restoration efforts. Also, there are I kind of wanted to separate a little bit like medical. Say you have medical background and you have a garage. I would recommend and hope that maybe you can use that garage to set up a field hospital or an underground hospital. A lot of this stuff is done on the underground. Read about, watch, learn all the things about like the French resistance during World War II, the Polish resistance, the Scandinavian countries' resistance movements, South American resistance movements over time, Asian resistance movements over time, stuff like that. All these roles are very important. And in this video, this could turn into like a whole long video series because there's a lot to talk about. But okay, so the supplies. Let's go into that. Say, I'll take the first one. Stackers, I'll call them. People that can stack supplies to the rafters. That maybe you have a garage. Maybe you have spare rooms in your house. Maybe you can just stack it all over your house. Maybe you have a shed out back. Whatever the situation may be, you can stockpile things. So what kinds of things could you stockpile that will really help the restoration efforts? Obviously, people, no matter what role they're filling, they're going to have to eat. So food, stockpiling, food. Stack as much food as you possibly can. Just stack it up, because it's not necessarily for you and your immediate tribe. It could be for resistance fighters. It could be for anybody else involved in the movement that's going to be needed. Water. Obviously, water is important. That's kind of on the medical side, so I'll separate that. Like I already talked about, seeds of both kinds for the homesteader producers in the movement, as well as these seeds that the warriors will need. Spare defensive tools, the complete setup if you can. If not, components for either repair parts, replacement parts, optics, seed holders, anything like that. Shelter, warm clothing, replacement clothing, layering systems, all this stuff. Basically the stackers, anything we talk about in preparedness, anything we talk about, the 10 whatever to do this, the 5 whatever to do this, all that stuff. Any of that stuff. And you can, tailor yourself to certain areas. There may be some people that just be a food and water. There may be some people that are like spare parts for vehicles. There may be somebody that is maybe a former warrior that wants to get all this stuff for the younger guys because maybe they're not capable. Maybe they're medically not capable. Maybe they're age limited. Maybe whatever. Maybe they just don't want to be anymore. So you can tailor your stackers, your stacks, your stockpiles for, you could pretty much stack anything because it will be needed at time. Fuel is a good one because those people in the transportation role, and if you see yourself in a transportation role or a safe house role, it's more the transportation, stockpile food, stockpile spare parts for your vehicle so you can keep that vehicle up and running as long as possible. All right, so that's stackers. Pretty much general preparedness. It could be anything. You would have to decide what direction you would like to head in this. You would have to decide what all you can stack due to your space limitations, due to your budget, due to what you're interested in, what your capabilities are, what you have the ability to do and not do. So that's important. All right, so let's move on to the producers, basically like homesteaders, people with backyard gardens, but hopefully on a larger scale than just that. Everybody should have a backyard garden. Everybody that has the ability to garden should garden. Everybody that has the ability to have animals should have animals. Chickens, ducks, turkeys, pheasants, cows, pigs, rabbits, whatever it is you eat, have it. Something. Producing food is important because the stackers, no matter how much they stack, it'll eventually run out. So you're going to have ways to replenish it. And the producers and the stackers need to coordinate with each other because the producers hopefully will be overproducing and then hopefully maybe taking it to the stackers who can, like the storerooms, storehouses, stuff like that. And involved in this could be the transportation person. See, it's all this thing. We got to work together. This is why tribe is important. And when things really go south, it's pretty much a lot of people are going to be part of this that didn't even think about it or weren't prepared for it or didn't even really think that they would be involved in a group. Because all these things, just like the supply now, just like the farm, growing the food out there, still has to have people come in and pick it. Then they still have to have transportation from there to a whatever location, a storage facility. Same thing in this situation. The people that are out there producing the food, water, whatever it may be, supplies, maybe it's a group of elderly ladies like my mother, and she has a knitting group. She loves to sit there and knit with all of her friends. Great. Knit clothing. Buy a bunch, if you're a knitter, buy a crap load of earth tone yarn and start making spare clothing for people. It may be the intel people, it may be the propaganda people, it may be the warriors, it may be the supply people, whatever. There will be a need for it. This is a very, very big topic, right? You can see where I'm going with this. So, yes, it all works in conjunction with each other. And there's so much to it that it's all these things that are running around in my mind. Like I said, this is going to take a bunch of videos to do. Transportation, okay, producers, back to producers. Save your seeds as much as you can. You probably already know this, so that you have that sustainability year after year after year. If you're starting off with heirloom seeds, organic heirloom seeds, and you can save your seeds year after year after year, you know that you will always have seeds to plant. If you're a stacker, then stack lots of those seeds also. And along with that, a lot of these roles also may overlap as far as, say, the producer needs security. So maybe some of the warriors will be tasked with security. What I recommend for any situation like that, anybody that would need security in this situation, would be security in that aspect would definitely need to be down on the down low, gray man type stuff. You would not be dressed like this, probably. What I would suggest is younger men and women that aren't necessarily fully capable of going out there and being a warfighter, older people, and or people that just don't have either the willingness or the capability of going out there and being an active warfighter, but that may still be interested in having an ability to perform security. Sit in an LPOP, sit in a fixed fighting position, just patrol, walk around the perimeter. It could just be walking around the yard. It could be sitting up somewhere in the yard so you're just hidden. Or it could be sitting on the back porch reading a magazine, appearing to look like you're reading a magazine with a defensive tool hidden next to you. Could be that. Could be sitting on the front porch. It could be hidden defensive tools going for a walk in the neighborhood just to make sure things are secure. But that you just appear like you're going for a walk in the neighborhood. There's a lot to this. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to wrap this video up, get my thoughts in, congruity again, and proceed with the video. I'll probably take some more notes also because there's a lot to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I normally talk about this kind of stuff on Patreon. However, I think there's a need to have this discussion on YouTube here, just speaking in code and in parables. So, yes, it is important. I love you guys. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your support. Stay tuned for the next one. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.